All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome back to the show, the goat of all guests to the TCF podcast and our morning shows. You know him as a director of morale for the Chicago Cubs. You've seen him frequently on the compound. The podcast with Zach Short, Dylan Meckus, and his best friend Ian Happ. You can find him on Instagram and Twitter at Dom_Frederic. I don't even know why we're doing intros for him anymore at this point. He's much of our part of our show as anyone, but he's our Dom, ladies and gentlemen. Dom Frederic. Dom, what's happening, man? How are you tonight?
Thanks for having me again, Zach. I don't know if you have a running tab, but I think this is like 15 times.
Every time you come on, I say I will figure it out, and I just forget. But I will try.
You gotta get one of those scoreboards, like the in-home scoreboards, and put it up. So every time that Dom comes on, we'll tick it up one more time there, right over your shoulder.
Exactly. I'm very appreciative for being here. It's always the best, and baseball's obviously here. It's here, which is great. I'm super excited about it.
Before we get going, Ian Happ, you were talking about him. You accidentally sent him a text message the other day?
Yeah, no, I was we were messaging, texting that day, and like, you know, when you're I'm assuming a lot of people do this, but like you have to text someone and you think it's like you just press your whatever messages app and it pops up, and then you just type in whatever, like the first text you see, and then you send it off. I'm assuming you all have done that before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 1,000 times.
I mean, he was the first person there. He was the last person I texted. So I was like, send me because we had to go to Costco. And, and then I looked again. I looked back into my messages, and then he texted me back, and I was like, oh, no. Anyways, yeah, it was funny. And obviously he got the joke. And we ended up going to Costco. We got a lot of stuff at Costco the next day. I sent the message to the person who was intended to after I found out I sent it to Ian by accident.
What's going through your head though in the meantime before you get the reply?
No, I didn't even know. No, I know.
Oh, so you were did know completely until he replied.
No idea. And when he texted me, I was like, I don't know why he's texting me right now. And then I saw it, and then I saw the response. I said, oh, you know, whatever. But luckily this wasn't at the beginning of our relationship, like the first, like right after the first podcast or before the first podcast, and I did that because then I
better him than Yelich anyway.
Yeah. Well, Yelich has it coming. It's coming soon.
he needed help getting through that store anyway.
Yep, he would.
All right, Tom, let's get on to the Cubs. So this season, it's going to be a little bit different. No longer the hunted. Everybody says this team's on the decline. They're rebuilding. Zach's got the bad news mug. RIP bad news for the Cubs anyway. He's going to the Padres, as we all know. But no longer the hunted. What does that mean for this roster full of veterans? Does it spark them at all? Does it get them going? Does it get them juiced up for the season? Does it stack them behind the 8 ball even further? Where are we at?
That's a great question. And I think that's a really good question, because I guess I haven't really thought about like how this has to do with the overall like performance of the people we have here. I guess my mind has always thought, at least throughout this winter and going into the season, like what can we take from 2021 that will build into 2022 and 23, 24, which is why I talked about Nico and Adbert and some of the younger players that we have coming up that are going to create this next group. Why I've been so adamant about the possible extensions, hopefully at least one of them. So again, we know who's leading this group moving forward. In terms of your question specifically, I mean, I would hope that they would be, listen, I know they're excited. I know they're happy to be there. I know they're happy to be around one another. I totally get that. And I don't think I'm coming from a very pessimistic viewpoint here, but the reality of it is we've kind of heard this for many years. And again, I'm the hype man. You know what I mean? I'm the one who's pumping up these guys 24/7. I totally understand that. But eventually, I mean, it's got to happen. And I think specifically for the position players, and again, I've been as supportive as anyone on this app or on social media, wherever, on this team. But eventually, you got to prove it, right? And I hope that maybe this year they can all like truly come together in a way we haven't seen since like 2017, right? I mean, we've been kind of talking about the same stuff, the lack of contact, clutch hitting. I mean, again, some of it's like meatball takes, but it is real life things that have caused some poor results for this team or for the position players specifically. So again, I hope it motivates them, but they're going to have to play well if they're going to want contracts, or if they're going to want like $100 million contracts, even like, talking like 50, 60, like $1 million. Again, the way the market is now, I understand Tatis signed that big deal, but a lot of these guys are now into their 30s, and that obviously doesn't bode well for free agency. So we'll see. My main focus overall is that, A, can we extend one or two guys so we know who's on the team moving forward? B, can Nico Horner and Adbert be real players moving forward? And then C, what's the development going to be like in terms of a Zach Davies? Is he actually a pitcher that you can rely upon and you can bring him back? Where's Brendan Davis throughout this season? Where's Braylon Marquez? That type of thing, so we can really figure out what happens to 2021, 22, 23, and 24. In the meantime, we still have the opportunity to beat the Cardinals, Brewers, Pirates, and the Dick Ballers, which in my mind is as rewarding as anything, even though I know we should be competing for championships. And I know I'm on a long tangent right now. But the fact of the matter is we have the opportunity to compete in a time of transition. And hopefully we can see these players play well, which warrants them to get an extension. So we know what's going to be on the team moving forward into those future years.
First, who do you think will be one of the players that will get an extension? And do you think it will be before the season starts or during the season? Because somebody's got to get that extension.
Someone's got to get it. I totally agree. So I have some thoughts on this, and I've been adamant about the fact that if it was between Javi Baez and Chris Bryant, I'm probably going Chris, just because I trust the bat more. I think he has more upside offensively, even though Javi is an elite all-world defender. I totally understand that. When things are bad, they're really bad for Javi. Not saying the same for Chris, but I think Chris has a better understanding of the strike zone. He puts the ball in play more, so on and so forth. So I'm banking on Chris. Do I necessarily think it's going to happen? I don't know. I just think it's just the way he talks about this whole deal is totally different than the way Javi and Rizzo talks, right? Rizzo's like, listen, I'm just going to play and it's going to take care of itself. Javi's saying, I don't want to play for any other team. Chris, on the other hand, says, well, I'm open to listening to any offer they have. And then when you talk about Bryce Harper, he's saying, who's obviously his clear friend. Well, there's going to be a bunch of teams lining up for Chris this offseason. You don't hear that out of the Rizzo camp. You don't hear that out of the Javi Baez camp, but you repeatedly hear it out of the Chris Bryant camp. People might get mad at me for saying that, but you cannot tell me that each and every player on this Cubs team going into free agency has handled themselves in the same manner publicly. And maybe even privately. I don't know that to be true, but at least publicly. You can't tell me that Javi's comments, Rizzo's comments, and Chris Bryant's comments are exactly the same. Do you agree?
Yeah, because the Javi Baez was just recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was recent. Well, they all spoke relatively.
Well,
recently.
yeah, I seen that the praise for wanting to be a Cub forever. Like that's different than the other two, like you said.
Yeah, and I mean, Rizzo. Well, I'm giving Rizzo the benefit of the doubt because he's basically, in my mind, he's basically saying, well, listen, I'm just going to play my game, and that's going to take care of itself. Meaning, like, I think everyone would agree Rizzo probably has the best chance of being extended. So I guess that's what he's speaking to.
Yeah, because of age and a little bit different situation for Rizzo than the other two.
Exactly.
Call me a cynic though too. I mean, I have to think some of this started with Chris Bryant, his mentality 6 years ago when they waited 10 days to call him up or 15 days to call him up.
Are you saying in the sense that it's reasonable for Chris to think that way? Is that what you mean?
No, I think that's where some of the bitterness and maybe and not so much the team quote team. I don't want to say he's not a team player by any means, because I think he is, but that quote team first mentality where I'm going to give the hometown discount or whatever it may be. I'm willing to just play out my deal, sign my extension. I don't think Bryant's willing to do that. I think we're obviously seeing that, and I think a lot of that still stems from then.
No, I totally agree. And again, I don't mean to, like, I've really tried to have specific or choice words for Chris's situation, because I feel like if I went on like a tangent, I feel like I don't really want to blow his spot up. And I understand that he could be frustrated. I understand that the media has mistreated him at times. But to my original point, I just think it's naive to say, well, Chris hasn't done anything differently compared to the other players to warrant the narrative around his Cubs tenure, or specifically over the last couple of years. I just think there's things he's done that, in a way, I'm not going to say has alienated, but has kind of made him more of the outcast in terms of this team moving forward compared to other guys.
What might be personality. I think it's personality as much as anything with
potentially.
Him. I don't think he's got that same kind of outgoing, the charismatic kind of demeanor that Rizzo has, that Baez has, that Contreras has, that even Kyle Schwarber has, that Happ is showing on his podcast and things like that. He's more of that kind of. You always hear about him just grinding and hitting, taking swings all the time. That's all you hear about,
Yeah.
And
no, I hear it.
I love Rizzo too, but he's also in a situation where he can do no wrong to Cub fans because he's been here since the beginning of everything. And then when you see what happens when Kris Bryant goes through the struggles and how it's probably a little different, then he probably sees it that way too.
Yeah, and I preface this all by saying I'm a big fan of Kris Bryant. I
love Kris Bryant. I hope they extend him still.
Yeah, like I said before, I would rather have Kris Bryant than Javi. It's no knock on Javi, but I'd rather have Kris. But back to my point, it just has always felt, and again, people can argue with me on this. They can say you're being unfair. I really don't think I am. I think, though, that, and I guess I'll just say, I don't think Kris has done the best job necessarily engaging with the fans as other players have in their Cubs tenure. People might disagree. If you disagree, that's fine. But again, to my point, I don't think, like I said before, I think both sides are to blame in a sense that Kris has been dangled out like a carrot on a stick for teams to make trades for the last 3 years. Everyone knows it. It's the reality of the situation where we haven't seen that with Javier Baez, Anthony Rizzo, so on and so forth. And I think there's a reason for that. It's not just a coincidence. There's a reason for that.
And I know it maybe not so much, but does it have something to do with also who his agent is also?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
just because the way Scott Boras makes his players seem how they're worth so much, and it's just it's just different.
And I'm not saying that Kris isn't worth a lot of money. I'm not saying in the past that he wasn't worth more than he potentially was offered by whatever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's the relationship between him and the Cubs, between him and Cubs fans at times in the city of Chicago, has been different compared to other players. And I think you can make a very clear argument for that. There's going to be a lot of people in Chris's corner that are going to say, no, you're wrong, you're being unfair. I don't think I am. I think I'm looking at this pretty objectively, and just the comments he makes on a routine basis, which he has every right to make. He has every right to say that, yes, I'll pay attention to an offer. But remember, and I try to understand this and take this into account, your words mean something to a lot of people. And it remember, the people in the front office, like Jed, and they're humans too. So it's like, are they really going to be like, yeah, we're going to go all in for this guy that at times seems like wishy-washy whether he really wants to be here long term?
Yeah, well,
I think we can all agree that Kris Bryant, we all want him to be a Cub for the rest of his career at this point.
Yeah, absolutely, totally.
Dom, of the new players that the Cubs have acquired over the offseason, who are you expecting to have the most production from?
So we have Jake, we have Jock, we have Trevor Williams, Davies, right? It's a great question. I would probably say Davies, man. Not a lot of people are talking about him because of bad news. I get it. Listen, no one's gonna replicate bad news. It's not gonna happen. But I think in a way, if Kyle Davies, that's his name, Kyle, right?
Zach Davies.
Zach Davies, of course, I say it wrong. If he can work with Kyle Hendricks, right? Very similar pitcher. Davies had a really good 2020. He pitched really well. You look at the numbers, he was great. It was by far his best year, obviously a shortened season. But he's a guy who can pitch every fifth day. Yes, he doesn't throw hard at all. He's very much so like Kyle Hendricks. He's very probably like the clearance rack Kyle Hendricks. But again, it's true. But again, when you think about starting pitcher, and I'm just thinking starting pitchers, and I'm just thinking about like overall production, I think it's very reasonable for Davies to net you at like 3.5 maybe F4, and that would be a really good year. And if the Cubs can get that, that's solid. I don't know if Jock can necessarily do that. Potentially, if he's getting platooned by the end of the year because of left-handed pitching struggles. But overall, I'm excited about Davies. Not in the sense that he's like a number 2, but he can be a guy who can fill the back end of the rotation. And again, I understand our starting staff isn't something to write home about. I'm being incredibly optimistic about Bert. I think he can be a great pitcher. I think Jake can really contribute. They're going to have to piece things together. They're going to have to be very consistent. But overall, I'd say Davies is probably the one guy that you can probably put your money on in terms of being the most productive this year.
I think we got a little bit of a merch idea here. I'm just thinking. You said the clearance rack Kyle Hendricks. Maybe we take red dots, like the red dot tag, like the red dot sticker. Slap hashtag Morel. That's the Davies
there
sticker.
You go.
We're slapping them on bumper stickers. We're putting them on T-shirts.
Red
dots everywhere.
Especially if he's throwing especially if the whole rotation's throwing like 85, it could be like the
stop sign. We're taking off the fastball. We're all throwing 85.
Yeah, slow pitch mafia or something like that. That would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
There we go.
We'll see.
All right. Tell us why we're all going back to church this year in April, starting in April, and explain to our listeners who may be new here why the Jake Arrietta signing is going to be good for this team.
Well, I think we're already seeing it, right? With Bert, with Moralzale. The fact that he's dialing in with
that's awesome.
with Jake on a regular basis, on a daily basis, they're just dialing it in, and the fact that Bert is, he's all into Church of Jake. The guy's, the next thing you know, he's going to change his Twitter name to Moralzale, and he's retweeting, liking, like he's going to church on a daily basis because he is.
He's awesome on social media.
He's awesome, man. And I think, and again, I love John Lester. I love John Lester reams. I can't say it enough. But the reality of it is that Jake is a much more similar pitcher to Adbert than John Lester was as a 37-year-old pitcher throwing 89 from the left side. It's not even close. Jake's been there. He's done that. Very similar pitching profile. And to mentor Adbert is huge. Coupling onto the fact that Jake, as we've seen in his career, he's a feel guy. He's a comfort guy. He came to Chicago. He found something that worked for him. Hopefully you can replicate that. He's not going to be 2015, 16. He might be 2017, Jake, maybe. But you're not looking for him to be a dominant guy. You're looking for him to be a leader and a mentor to Adbert and a guy who can contribute to this team. Coupling on to the fact that if he pitches on Sundays, he's got an extra bit of juice. He's got Jesus Christ on his side. And that's something I think we can all agree is what we want on a daily basis. Come Sunday, he should only pitch on Sundays. He should only pitch on Sundays. Okay?
I don't hate it.
That's it. Only pitches on Sundays. And I'm telling you, if he did, I guarantee you he could compete for like an all-star spot as like a 35-year-old.
I can't wait to read from the book of spin rate this year.
Yeah,
it's going to be great.
It's going to be incredible.
Well, he took less money to come to the Cubs, so there must be a reason why he's here.
And I've been saying this the whole time. Give Tommy Hotovy so much credit for what he's done. It's been like the underlying theme with this team. I know people rip on the bullpen, but if you're going to rip on the bullpen, rip on the fact that maybe they whiffed on Kimbrel and they haven't necessarily been incredibly aggressive in like free agency on a consistent basis. But the one thing this team has done is they've built out a bullpen with guys off the trash heap, off the clearance rack, if you will. They brought in guys. Tommy Hotovy worked with Bad News, got him right. He's improved Kyle Hendricks. He's worked with Alec Mills, Burt, the slider. I mean, all this type of stuff. I trust Tommy Hotovy. He's proven it in the bullpen. He's proven it with the starters. And if he has some type of relationship very similar to the relationship Jake had with Chris Bosio in 2014 through 17, I think that's something that we can really benefit from. And it's something that we should be excited about. The fact that we have a pitching coach who has proven to have work really well with whether it be tunneling, pitch, spin rate, all that type of stuff. I don't want to get into the details, but the fact that he understands it, he's worked with these pitchers, and it's proven out on the field is huge. And hopefully Jay can benefit from that.
Yeah, because it's awesome to see him back, and he looks like he's having fun. This team looks like they're having fun this spring training. Fred, what are you kind of looking forward to see what's going on like during spring training? What is there anything you want to see at the end of spring training? Not even on the field, just like maybe some of these players like getting to know each other.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think the first one is an extension. I know I've already said that, but we need an extension by the end of this. In terms of what I'm looking for, I mean, probably it would be. Listen, I'm not saying you're going to have young guys step into leadership roles, but I mean, you want to see like some of these younger players. You want to see the guys that you've been looking towards. And I'm not saying Bodie's like a younger player, but if David Bodie's going to be on this team, he's going to have to be like a very important piece who can fill in. He's going to be that utility guy who can hit lefties well. I mean, a lot of good teams have these players, and we need to start solidifying these roles as we transition into a new group. Not saying the players on the team right now aren't going to be part of that, but we don't necessarily know. And if we don't have extensions figured out, the young players, the guys, like I said, Nico, Burt, like many of these players, Ian Happ, I mean, my guy, like they're the next wave, because I think a lot of people would agree. I don't think we're going to see all four of the core on the team in 2023. It's not going to happen.
I love the Chicago Cubs. I've always loved the Chicago Cubs. What they did with Ian Happ, it didn't set right with me, because I think that's something. If you're fighting over like $500,000 with a player who has been with his organization since he's been drafted. He's worked through the ups and the downs, and now he's playing so well, and you're gonna do this. You're gonna make him go through arbitration. That's just stupid. I think that was stupid.
Stupid. It was stupid. They shouldn't have done it, especially in a time where this is the time where Ian should be working on extensions with this team. I mean, he's like prime candidate number one, if we're being honest. The guy who's still young, he's versatile, he plays multiple positions, switch hitter, he gets on base, OPS above 800, he's consistent. Yeah, sure, he'll strike out, but that's part of the game, and he's a consistent piece on this team for someone to extend on hopefully a deal that was similar to the one Rizzo signed 6-7 years ago, right? I think that's pretty reasonable. And instead of trying to, like you said, Zach, shortchange him $850K for 1 year when he was your best player in 2020, in a year that you won the division, in a year that you had so many of your best players, your mainstay marquee players, play terrible. He was the guy, him and Jason Hayward carried this team throughout the season. And then to shortchange him on that was wrong. And hopefully they don't do that again to any other player.
And that makes you look bad to free agents and stuff. That's just, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Dom, do you think this rotation is good enough to compete for a division?
I think this team. Well, okay, here's the thing. I mean, listen, I guess it just depends on how good you think this division is. I think Kyle Hendricks is a number one, right? He's and maybe he's not a dominant number one in terms of the stuff, but he's a number one. He pitches like a number one. His stats are like a number one stats minus the strikeout rate. Other than that, if Adbert is a stud, yes. If Moralzale shows up, yes. If he's, and again, I'm saying it in a guy that's supporting him, full throttle. I'm supporting Adbert. But if he's a five, a guy that's in and out of the rotation, I understand my expectations for this guy, or at least my hopes for this guy, is very high. But if he's in and out of the rotation like a fifth starter, bouncing between then it's no. You need Adbert to be a dude, and we saw him be a key piece in 2020. Again, he's getting the second start in spring training. I know that might not mean everything, but he's getting the second start. So obviously there's something there. He proved it in 2020. If he is a mainstay guy and he shoves, which I think he can do, then yes, this team has the opportunity to win a division. I didn't say World Series, division, and that's what I'm going for this year. Extensions and compete for a division.
Get in the playoffs, and anything can happen from there.
Exactly.
Let's not kid ourselves.
Exactly.
I mean, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be one of those things too. Like, you know, you need to replace 30 starts from Yu Darvish. That's not easily done.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
So let's be real here. I want to switch gears a little bit though to another guy that's in camp this year, and he got invited to big league camp, and you mentioned his name earlier in the show was Brennan Davis. I'm kind of curious what's your thoughts on him, and how excited should Cubs fans start getting about this kid?
I think very excited. Big, athletic, raw, ton of power. For everything I hear, great work ethic, great kid. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't be excited about it. Again, I don't know if it's because the fact that the Cubs have these big name guys per se that he potentially isn't talked about enough, or the fact that the minor league season in 2020 was shut down. But I mean, I'm not saying he's like on the cusp of entering the major leagues, but man, it's hard to find some of these guys that have the tools that he has, and if he can put the ball in play, and we know the power is there, I don't see how he wouldn't be a key contributor moving forward, and a guy that can be a corner piece or a piece in the outfield that we had all hoped Jason Hayward would be, right? A guy who can be athletic. Obviously, Jason has a great glove. One of those types of guys, and I think even more so, I think Brennan Davis has the opportunity to hit for a lot more power than Hayward did. God bless him, he had a great 2020, but hopefully he's a guy that we can all be excited about, maybe even in 2022, possibly coming up. I'm super excited. I think he has all the potential in the world, and this is what I've been talking about in the sense that we need to figure out who is a part of 2022, 23, 24, while understanding that we're in a time of transition right now, which we are.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what this team can do with like the younger guys, but you also got to see what they're going to do with the older guys too. Fred, how big is it that there will be a limited amount of fans allowed at Wrigley Field?
Huge. We need people in the Federal Landmark. It's going to be electric. I'm just excited. I mean, there's so much of it too that at least personally for me, I mean, like my everyday game day experience is, I think, a little bit different than everyone else, considering I get so many tweets and so many mentions of people. I mean, like that's the thing I do kind of miss is people being in the bleachers and people, whatever, just like tweeting me, screaming at Kyle Schwarber, telling him that, he's their left fielder and all that type of stuff, right? And hopefully we can get that again. Hopefully it's the same thing of, and again, I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to get too much into details, but hopefully people, they let me know when they use the trough for the first time in 18 months, right? Like they went through that rite of passage. They went shoulder to shoulder, responsibly in the troughs to build some morale, right? That type of stuff that I think's exciting. The fact that people can be in the federal landmark again, and hopefully increase the performance of a guy like Javi Baez, who said that it was terrible playing in front of an empty stadium. And hopefully he can turn it around and become the player that we know he can be at shortstop. So it's going to be awesome. There's going to be a lot more like content you can play with in terms of like my job, if you will, which I'm excited about. And just seeing those people at the ballpark and, making Wrigley Field what it is and the federal landmark that it is something that we should all enjoy.
All right, we've beat the Cubs to death here with Morel, and I'm going to switch gears again. How are things looking at landing a QB for our faithful along the lake?
Well, here's the thing.
Are you bringing us Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, Dom?
Here's the thing, and a lot of people were. Well, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but a lot of people were skeptical by the fact that I started recruiting Russell Wilson. At the same time, I was recruiting Deshaun Watson, and I'm saying to everyone, if Nick Saban or Urban Meyer or Dabo Sweeney,
you're not going after one.
Exactly. They picked one guy, and that's all they – no, that's not how it works. I need to put my eggs in many nests, right? I need to make sure that I have all my bases covered in the event that Houston doesn't trade Deshaun Watson. Or
you've offered 2 scholarships
exactly
to the first one that accepts.
Exactly. And I don't think I should be criticized for that. And
Absolutely
if they
not.
No. If one of them does come to Chicago, like I said before, it's going to be Saban, Urban, Dom.
Frankly, Ryan Pace should be doing the exact same thing. He should be going after both of them anyway. So
literally, Ryan Pace should be making just private jet flights to Seattle and Houston on a routine basis. He should be going there. I should be going to each city 2 times a week to hash this out and get it done, and literally give either team whatever they want, because if you don't have a QB in this league, it doesn't matter. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. And this is why the Chicago Bears have been the way they've been. I'm not saying I'm a football expert, but the fact that if you don't have a QB, you're not going to do anything. I'm sorry. It's why the Bears have been what they are.
That's sadly very true.
Yes.
But it's pretty wild though that the players on a team with a quarterback still on the roster were openly
Oh yeah, openly.
Yeah.
I mean, more so than Dom was.
I love it, but it's just one of those
things.
You
need a QB.
Oh, yeah. They know.
I mean, you need a QB. It's just and you know what? I would be surprised too if Nick Foles or even Mitch was I understand. I understand. It's a hard job. It's the hardest job in sports.
But they also get paid a lot of money to do it, so that helps a little bit. Last question here, Dom. Me and Matt have been checking you out on that new app, Clubhouse. For your rides home from work.
Yep.
How are those going, and when can we expect some more of those?
We're gonna have another one this week. We're gonna try to make them a routine or a weekly thing on a routine basis. We're gonna have it this week. It's gonna be in the evening. It's not gonna be on the ride home to cater to those who are actually still working during that time. So probably on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. We'll see. It depends on my schedule and Adam's schedule. But yes, it's gonna be this evening. I think it's been great. If you have thoughts on your own, Zach, I know you were in the last one. Let me know what you thought. I think it's great to chat with fans. It allows me to also branch out into new mediums, and I think I've struggled with it in the past. I've never really wanted to start a podcast per se because I didn't want it to be too repetitive, and I think you all doing it yourselves can understand you don't always have enough topics to talk about, so on and so forth. It's challenging, right? And,
especially what we just went through.
Yeah, it's really challenging. So I didn't want
especially when you got Booby to host with too.
Yeah, I know, I hear you. So it's I didn't want to get into those situations, but I think this is something fresh. It allows me to engage with the fans, and I think for the people that, again, I know there are a lot of people out there that just think I'm a total psycho nut job because they don't understand the jokes and they don't understand the shticks. Like, if you want to hop in and have an actual conversation, I'm more than happy to do so. And hopefully that can get people kind of understanding the whole humor along with the whole thing. And I think you guys would know, because we've talked enough, that like I am pretty objective about the team. Like, yes, I know I hype the team up and I get it, but like I am fairly realistic. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, you.
I mean, I'm not over the top.
Yeah, because you know so much about definitely. The players too.
Yeah, I'm not like this year. I don't think the Cubs aren't World Series favorites. I think we have a reasonable shot to win the division. It's not like the division is great. And if the Cubs do win this division and the division stinks, I'm not going to apologize for it. I will not apologize for it. I'm sorry. I won't.
You reference yourself being a nutcase. It's okay to be realistic and a nutcase at the same time. It's quite all right. We all are, man.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. So, yes, I think Clubhouse is great. I'm looking forward to it. We'll have it again, like I said before, probably this Tuesday or Wednesday evening. And
it's been a lot of fun.
Send those invites. And if you have your own personal thoughts on how I can make it better or whatever, just let me know. But the first two were awesome. They each went for like an hour long, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, it's been a good change of pace for the week too, to get something different to listen to. It's been a pleasure.
It's kind of like a radio show, pretty much.
And that's why I agree. I kind of, and I've always thought to myself, like, if I wanted to do a podcast, I would want to do it where people can call in and share their thoughts. I mean, if you think about Clubhouse, like after a game, a Clubhouse will be popping, right? And it's better than an Instagram Live, because Instagram Live's so sketchy and the feed isn't always good. Like Clubhouse, it's like you said, Zach, you have your own radio station.
Let's not kid ourselves. The comments get in the way in an Instagram Live too.
And let's be real with it. People want to be able to go to other apps while they're listening to you. And with Clubhouse, you can leave the app, and you don't have, like with the Instagram Live. If you get out of the app, you lose the feed.
Exactly.
And I don't have a whole lot of interest in looking at too many people's faces for like more than like
that's
10
true,
minutes.
Too.
You know what I mean?
It makes it so much easier to get people on, because that's some of the stuff that people are like, oh, we got to use the camera. How we can get this set up? It's like talking on the phone.
It's super simple, and I think it's awesome. So we'll see what happens, and it's definitely going to be something that I use a lot this year. And I think, I mean, like I said before, walk-off wins or any big news, you just hop on Clubhouse and get it moving. I think right now we're making it a weekly thing, just because there aren't as many topics from week to week. But in the season, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be used a lot.
Frankly, for you too, I think you could use it to kind of get a pulse on the fan base a little bit too at times in a different capacity, for your own purposes. So I don't know. I think it's great. Obviously we're talking about you on Clubhouse. We know we can find you on Instagram and Twitter at Dom_Frederic. Dom, it's been a blast as usual, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on.
You got it.
I don't have anything else to ask you. Zach, you got anything else to ask our guy here?
No, I'm just ready to get the season going. Monday, I think they play like at 2:00 or something. First game of the year. Cubs in 4, like always.
Cubs in 4, and then hopefully we can get on the golf course.
Yes.
Get on the golf course.
Need some hard hats.
The snow to melt finally, and then we can finally get back on the golf course.
It's going to happen. I don't know out there, but I think the snow is going to melt like by Wednesday.
Let's hope. I need that.
Huge. Anyways, yes, thanks, guys. Again, it was awesome.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.